Now let's talk about the next set of triangles. Now I have gone ahead and kind of cleaned up the picture a little bit. If we jump up to these green ones, what we've done with the green ones is we have actually gone up 60 degrees. Again, here's my hypotenuse of 1. So in this case, this is my long side, this is my short side. So when I talk about taking hypotenuse is equal to 2 times the short side, that makes this 1/2. That makes this the square root of 3 over 2. So now when I think about going over x value, 1/2, going up square root 3 over 2. So just the opposites of the 30-degree as you would expect. So that's 60. So if I start at 180 and I go back 60, I'm at a 120-degree angle. And here I have negative 1/2 positive square root 3 over 2. If I start at 180 and I go down another 60, 180 plus 60 is 240. And then I am at my 1/2 negative square root 3 over 2. And if I'm at 360 and I come back 60, I'm at 300. And I am at positive 1/2 negative square root 3 over 2. Now the blue triangles represent 45 degrees, my 45, 45, 90s. And just for decoration, let's throw the red in there. Okay. So here, my hypotenuse of 1. Remember for 45, 45, 90, the hypotenuse of 1, my hypotenuse is equal to my leg times the square root of 2. So 1 is equal to the leg square root of 2. Divide both sides by square root of 2. Rationalize your denominator. And so each leg is the square root of 2 over 2. And so when I think about how much I'm going over square root of 2 over 2, how much do I go up square root of 2 over 2? These coordinates are at square root of 2 over 2, square root of 2 over 2, all the way around. So now if I'm at 180 and I subtract 45, I'm at 135. And I am at negative square root of 2 over 2, positive square root of 2 over 2. And if I'm at 180 and I add 45, I'm at 225, and I'm at negative square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2. If I'm at 360 and I subtract 45, I'm at 315, and I am at the square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2. And those are all of my points, all of my sine and cosine values for those exact angles. Everything hinges on this first quadrant. If you know the values and the reference angles of the first quadrant, and then you know what the sines are supposed to be in each of the quadrants, you know the sine and the cosine value of all of the major angles. We have something like, sine of 42. We still have to go to our calculator to do that. Let's just take a minute and quick look at a couple of tangent values. So if we are talking about the tangent of 30 here, remember tangent is sine over cosine, and so we have 1/2 over the square root of 3 over 2. Okay, and so when we think about how to simplify that fraction, we have 1/2 when we divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal, 2 over the square root of 3. Your 2's cancel. You have to rationalize your denominator. And so the tangent of 30 is the square root of 3 over 3. Quadrant 1, it's positive. Quadrant 2, it's a negative. Quadrant 3, it's positive. Quadrant 4, it's negative. And so that's what you would go through. Obviously, the tangent, the square root of 2 divided by the square root of 2, the tangent of 45 is 1. And when you go around and look at what is sine, square root of 3 over 2 divided by cosine, well, that's the square root of 3 over 2 times 2 over 1. Your 2's cancel. Your tangent of 60 and all of its reference angles is the square root of 3. So that's the gist for the unit circle. When we start talking about reference angles, we're going back to that unit circle bit. So let's start with this one. When I see a 330-degree angle, yes, I can go to my unit circle and I have the answer. But if I don't have the answer and I think about that quadrant 1, this angle right here is a 30-degree angle. It's 360. I've gone all but 330. That leaves 30 degrees left. So really, I'm looking at that angle right there. If we remember, that angle right there, that 30-degree angle right here, has a cosine value of the square root of 3 over 2. And so cosine of 30 is equal to the square root of 3 over 2. Now, quadrant 1 cosine is positive. Quadrant 4 cosine is positive, and so the cosine of 330 is also the square root of 3 over 2. Now, when it comes to something like secant, I want to think about what reciprocal is that? Well, secant and cosine are reciprocal. So I'm going to think in terms of sine to start with, or cosine rather, to start with. So 120 degrees is a reference angle of 60, because if I'm 120 around, to get to 180, I would have to go 60. So what is the cosine of 60? Well, I'll go back to your unit circle. Remember that 60 is our green ones. Cosine is the x-coordinate, so we're talking about the cosine of 1/2. So the cosine of 60 is 1/2. Now, we're over here in quadrant 2, cosine is negative, and so we're really talking about the cosine of 120 is negative 1/2. And if the secant and the cosine are reciprocals, then the secant of 120 is the reciprocal of this, which is negative 2. And that's how you use a reference angle to work your way through the cosine, sine values particularly, and tangent values. Use the reference angle for the original, and then apply that idea of reciprocal. The other kind of homework problem that we ask is I might give you something like 0 is equal to the sine of theta. And then I'm going to ask you, well, between 0 and 360, what values of theta would make this true? So it's really saying in at least one or two places, or no, because remember sine and cosine can never be bigger than 1, would the sine of theta be 0. So where is the sine 0? So again, if you go back to your unit circle, sine is your y-coordinate. The only two places where your y-coordinate is 0 is right here at 1, 0, which is at 0 and 360, and at 180, your sine is also 0. And so this is a case where theta could be 0, it could be 180, or it could be 360. Now, if the directions are just less than, these guys don't apply, and this is the only one. But if they're less than or equal to, we have to consider these also. So just pay attention to those detail pieces. The other kind of question is I could say 2 cosine of theta is equal to the square root of 3. Just like any algebraic solving, you want to get your variable, what you don't know, alone. So we're going to divide by -2. And we're going to be looking at a problem that says a cosine of theta is negative square root of 3 over 2. And if I think about my unit circle, I think about, well, where is cosine square root of 3 over 2? Well, cosine is the square root of 3 over 2 at 30 degrees. So we're talking about 30 degrees, except it's negative. So on that unit circle, where is cosine negative? It's negative in quadrants 2 and 3. So we're thinking about a 30-degree reference angle here. So theta is 150. And we're thinking about a 30-degree reference that way. And so theta could be 210. And those are the two values because that negative tells me which quadrant. The value square root of 3 over 2 tells me the reference angle. So that is how those work. Keep pushing yourself with challenging material, and good luck on the homework.